Hello, amazing fourth grade leaders. It's Mr. Torbein here today for part one of lesson 4.10 and 4.11. It is the lesson you have all been waiting for, and I know your parents have been waiting for it too, because this is how us old people who don't use TikTok or any of those cool things that the kids are into, this is how we learned how to divide. So please go ahead and pause the video after I state my I can statement so you can write it as well. I can divide multi-digit numbers and check my answers. Please pause the video and write your I can statement. All right, hopefully you wrote your I can statement. So for part one of this video, I'm going to show you the long division family and the house method so you can divide multi-digit numbers. In part two, I'll show you how to use the inverse of division, which is multiplication, so that you can check your answers or check my answers. So long division, please follow along. Long division is as simple as memorizing the people in this family. So maybe this family looks like yours, or at least a little similar. We have dad who divides, mom who multiplies, sister who subtracts, brother brings down, Rover has two jobs. He either repeats one of the steps or he'll bring up our remainder. And in part two, we'll have our furry friend Chester join us and check our work. So please pause the video so that way you can add these on to your anchor chart. Okay, hopefully you wrote that down. Now, I want to show you something else that's going to help you if you are not fluent or don't have all of your multiplication and division facts memorized, okay? So here I have a top and a bottom chart. So on the top side is my counting numbers, and I can go all the way from 1 to 9 or 10, okay? On the bottom will be our multiples, and I'll show you what I mean in just a moment. When we move from top to bottom, or from left to right, we are multiplying. So you take 1 times your divisor, so like 1 times 6, and that would give us 6. Now, when we move from bottom to top, we are dividing. So if we took our divisor 6, 6 divided by 6 would be 1. Okay, now this is going to help you if you need help doing the first two steps, where dad divides from right to left, and mom multiplies from left to right. So this is really important if you need some help with that. Okay, now on this first example, I just want you to watch me. I do not want you taking notes, okay? So we have 324 divided by 6. Remember, when it's represented like this, it's the exact same thing as 324, our dividend, divided by 6, okay? And we're trying to find our quotient. Now, here's how I remember that. Our dividend, or our larger number, so if this is the house, goes in the house. Our divisor, or the number that divides the dividend, goes underneath an imaginary visor, maybe like one that you have on the porch, goes underneath the visor outside of the house. So here's the house. Here is another part of the house. This is outside of the house, okay? Now, our answer to a division problem is a quotient. Now, quotient is spelled Q-U, just like queen starts with a Q-U. So that's why I have this crown right here. The queen of the house, we all know that it's mom, goes above the house, right? They're on top of the house. They're the queen of the house. Our quotient goes on top, okay? Now, our remainder starts with the letter R for Rover. Now, I know some of you have your furry friends that are inside of the house, but Rover is an outside dog. He likes to be outside of the house. So if you have a remainder, that R for remainder goes outside of the house. And that's how I like to remember it. Again, just make sure you're following along. You'll get a chance to practice a couple of these other problems, okay? So let's take a look at this right here. I have 324 divided by 6. Now, I don't know my 6's that well, so I'm going to use this top and the bottom chart, okay? Now, you can go all the way from 0 to 10, okay? All the way from 0 to 10. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, okay? Now, when you go from top to bottom, you're multiplying. And remember, my divisor is circled. That's why I have this 6 up here circled. So 0 times 6 is 0. 1 times 6 is 6. And I'm going to stop right there for now. So 3 divided by 6. 3 goes in between right here. Since it's less than 6, I have to use 0. That means I can't use it. Think about it. If you have 3 cookies, okay, you cannot share them equally with 6 friends without making a fraction. That's the next unit, okay? You can't give a whole cookie to somebody if you only have, to 6 friends if you only have 3. So what I like to do is I like to draw an arrow. And that lets myself know I'm not using that first place value. I have to take 32 divided by 6. Now, 32 divided by 6, I know all my multiplication facts, but 32 doesn't divide by 6 evenly. It doesn't, which is why this top and bottom chart is helpful, even if you do know your multiplication facts. So 1 times 6 is 6. 2 times 6 is 12. 3 times 6 is 18. And if you don't know this as quickly as I do, just remember that we're adding 6 each time, okay? So if you get stuck on a fact, you can always just add whatever your divisor is. 4 times 6 is 24. 5 times 6 is 30. And if you were adding, just make sure you pick a fact that you do know, like 5 times 6. Everybody should know that is 30. Make sure you're adding correctly, okay? Now, I'm almost to 32, but let's see if I can get closer. 6 times 6 is 36. Oh, nope, I passed 32. So 32 is right in between the 5th multiple, or 30, the 5th multiple of 6, or 30, and the 6th multiple of 6, so 36. So because it's right in there, I don't have 36, I only have 32. I'm going to use 5 and 30. So 32 divided by 6, remember, if I go from right to left, is 5. 5 goes on top, and that 30 goes on bottom. That's very important. You're nice and neat, and you keep your place value organized. Now, 32 divided by 6, the top part divides, and 5 times 6 is 30, so the bottom will be your multiplication, okay? So dad divides, mom multiplies, and your top and your bottom chart can help you with that. Sister subtracts, so I'll subtract 32 minus 30, and I get 2. Now, I need to, brother brings down. Bring down, since there's a digit in the place value to the right, that 4, I need to bring it down to make 24. Now, Rover is either going to repeat or bring up a remainder, okay? Now, if there was a digit to the right, I know that I would repeat, okay? However, there isn't a digit to the right, so how do I know if I need to repeat or if I need to bring up the remainder? Well, the remainder needs to be smaller than your divisor, and 24 is larger than 6, so that's how I know I need to repeat. So I need to repeat this process, okay? And Chester will show you Chester in part 2 of this video. So 24 divided by 6, well, let me go back to my top and bottom chart since I already passed 24. 24 is right here. So 24 divided by 6 is 4. My top number becomes a 4. Check off that I divided. Now, 4 times 6, that's my bottom number, 24. So that goes on bottom. And check off multiplication. Sister subtracts 24 minus 24 is 0. Now, brother brings down. Well, there's not a digit to the right of the 4, I don't have anything left to bring down, so I do not need to do brother. Now, Rover repeats or brings up a remainder. Now, if your remainder is 0, then there is no remainder. If you want to write it, you can, but you don't have to write it because 0 just means nothing. And that's how we do the first problem. So 324 divided by 6 is equal to 54 with no remainder. 54. That is our quotient. And congratulations, you just went through your first long division example. I'm going to show you one more where you... All right, let's take a look at one more example, then we'll let you try some on your own. Remember, Dad divides, Mom multiplies, sister subtracts, brother brings down, Rover repeats or brings up a remainder, Chester checks. So we have 411 divided by 3, okay? First step that I want to do is divide 4 divided by 3. Well, let's come to my top and my bottom chart. I can start with 0, but 0 times 0 and just 0. So I'm going to actually start with 1. So 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 3 is 6. I know that 4 goes in between 3 and 6, but it's less than 6, so I need to use 1 and 3. So 4 divided by 3, 3 goes into 4 one time. That's my division. What goes on bottom is my 3, because 1 times 3 is 3. And I'm going to check that off right there. Okay? Dad divides, Mom multiplies, sister subtracts. So 4 minus 3 is 1. Thank you for taking notes with me. Brother brings down, so I'm going to bring down the digit that's in the next place value. It's a 1 in the tens place. So now I have 11. Since I brought something down, I'm going to go ahead and repeat. Now I have 11 divided by 3. So let's come to our top and our bottom chart. How many times does 3 go into 11? Well, 3 times 3 is 9. And 4 times 3 is 12. 11 is between 9 and 12, but it's less than 12, so I need to use 3 and 9. 11 divided by 3 is 3. And 9 goes on bottom. Sister subtracts, and you have 2. Since there's a 1 in the ones place, brother is going to bring down that 1. And because we brought something down, we need to repeat. So 21 divided by 3. Maybe you don't need your top and your bottom chart for this, since this one works out perfectly. 21 divided by 3 is 7. Let's just make sure. So I have 5 times 3, which is 15. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 6 times 3, which is 18. And 7 times 3, which is 21. So yes, 21 divided by 3 is 7. Okay, so 7 goes on top, put a check next to Dad. 21 goes on bottom, put a check next to Mom since we multiply. Sister subtracts, and we have 0. And brother brings down. Well, there's nothing left to bring down, so I can go ahead and cross that out. Now, for Rover, we're not repeating since there isn't another digit in any of our place values, so we are going to either have a remainder or nothing. This time, since our remainder is 0, we have nothing. So what I want you to do now is I want you to try 580 divided by 4 and 370 divided by 5. Pause the video, give it a try. Thank you for pausing the video, having a growth mindset. Long division is not easy, and you won't get it in this first lesson. Or maybe you will, but it's okay if you don't. Let's take a look and see how you did. Now, one thing I forgot to mention before I left off, 411 divided by 3. Remember our quotient is our queen that goes on top. So our quotient is 137. Let's take a look at the next problem. 580 is equal to 145. And here are all of the steps. Take a moment to take a look at that. Check all of your steps. If you didn't get it, pause the video. See where you maybe made a mistake. Learn from that mistake. That's what it's all about. All right. Moving on to the next one. We had 370 divided by 5. Did you get 54? Hopefully you didn't start in the hundreds place because 3 divided by 5 can't do that. Not without making a fraction. So 370 divided by 5 is 54. No remainder on any of these problems. But in part 2, we'll make sure to get you some problems with remainders. Again, if you need to, if you didn't quite get one of these quotients, please pause the video and see if you can correct your mistake. Hopefully learn from it. All right, see you in part 2.